little bit about Axalta, right? We're a very old company with a relatively new name. So we're celebrating our 150th year, in business, right? Tracing our legacy all the way back to Germany. We were previously a part of the DuPont family of companies, right? We separated from them and recently went public, right, to stand on our own. And we're the world leader in automotive and industrial coatings. We have, in North America, what I'm going to talk about as a part of our performance coatings business, REFINISH, which is a really fancy way of saying paint in body shops, for your car after you get in an accident. You can see it's the biggest part of our business. It's sort of the key revenue and profit driver. We have about 2,400 employees, just over 15,000 collision center customers. We service a number of automotive OEM plants, so where they're physically painting the car, and that's everything from operating the robots and helping them with color, a number of training and innovation centers, and then several manufacturing facilities. So to understand what we've sort of been up against in the refinish industry, right, it's important to have this backdrop, and I'm going to weave this into what I talked to you about. But the refinish or the collision business in North America has been the same size for about 10 years. So it's not a growth industry. It's not getting bigger. It's not getting smaller, right? Number of cars on the road is a fairly stable metric, the miles driven, right, things like that. But there has been rapid consolidation. And so you probably all know this or you've observed it, right? The industry is all driven by insurance. So when you get in an accident, right, the first thing you do, you call your insurance company. They facilitate the process of getting your repair fixed. That's why we all pay for, auto insurance. But the top 10 insurers have rapidly, swallowed up their smaller competitors, and they've grown to be, at this point, just about 75% of the market, right? Those insurers have a lot of ability to influence, where cars go to get fixed based on these programs that they have for collision centers, right? And that's so DRP workflow is direct repair program. And who they're looking for are these sort of ever-growing MSOs, multi-shop operators. Again, a technical way for an enterprise that owns a lot of collision centers. And so you can see they continue to allocate more and more of their work to these, sort of consolidating platforms and these groups of, collision centers that are getting bigger and bigger. There's 4 of those that we sort of track as the bellwether of our industry, right? They're all large organizations. The biggest one is approaching 500 collision centers in North America, right? So that's a lot of body shops. And you can see their growth from, just under 500 locations in 2011 to a projected 1,800, right? And that's probably a conservative number. And then you can see that these MSOs continue to grow their share of this kind of, flat collision business that's in North America. So for Axalta, right, as we're looking at a flat growth industry and we're trying to figure out, a newly public company, how do we make sure our trajectory is going the right way? We need to be aligned, right, with those, that are growing, that are consolidating share, and that are going to be successful long term. So that is a huge piece, right, of the refinish strategy, right? And I'm going to focus really for this on the top 2 items, right? The first is to grow that share with this ever-growing and sort of dominant portion of the North American collision industry, these multi-shop operators. But the second piece of that, so Axalta does not sell direct, right? We sell through channel. So we have over 600 distributors that go through, almost, I think, 4,000 stock points. And so there's a lot of movement, right? And if you think about an industry that's rapidly consolidating, we need to be able to make decisions very quickly, often without a lot of leeway, right? Because we're seeing, person A buys person B. This shop that was our customer is no longer our customer, right? This distributor sells to a distributor that has a better relationship with a competitor. We still need to be able to get our products out and support people. And so we had 2 big challenges, that the folks on the BI team deal with. The first was to look at how we could develop an offering that really helps us, sell these larger, sophisticated multi-shop operators. Right at the end of the day, the paint business, we're all working very hard to make sure that we can all create the same colors, right? That we all can sort of sell agnostically, into body shops, irregardless of vehicle manufacturer. And we compete against companies like AkzoNobel and BASF. So we all have really smart chemists. So the paint is certainly a piece of it, but a lot of it is about how we position services and how we differentiate ourselves from a support perspective. So number one was to really drive something in front of the customers that would help align us with their challenge of growing and consolidating in a flat market. And then the second big piece was, how do we take something to our channel, right? Axalta distributes, we have a number of different brands. We obviously have a big, widely dispersed channel. So how do we help them? How do we make sure we can react quickly? How do we make sure they can react and know where they are? Because the market landscape is changing rapidly. So we have ArcGIS server, we have business analysts. We use that to deliver a tool that we call GMaps. It's Geospatial Market Planning and Analysis System. It's been around for us and gone through several iterations, but we sort of break it into two different standalone applications that we deliver for some pretty critical stakeholders, right? The first piece is for the body shop, right, for the collision center. What we will do is we'll work with a customer to help them do analysis, right? To help them figure out where they should be, how they're doing, how they could grow and capture share in what's a relatively low growth market, right? And the sort of value for us is as you grow, you're going to fix more cars, you're going to consume more paint, right? With really very little change to my transactional cost to service you, I'm going to sort of ride on your coattails and get bigger as you do. And so the basic features, right, we pull in some proprietary, information that we've got in systems. We use, data from the ArcGIS platform, and we add to it with data from RL Polk, right, for vehicle registrations and things like that. And we use that to deliver a platform where a shop can visualize their reality, sort of spatially, right? What is the collision potential? Where my existing stores are, where I might add a store. If I'm looking at buying a store down the street, right, what does that look like? What kind of vehicles are in that area? It also allows them to upload some information, and I'll show you some examples of that in a second. But probably the biggest thing, similar to I think what a lot of the presenters have talked about is people don't want to drive, an hour and a half to get their car fixed. So they need to understand where the people are, where the vehicles are, and that can be a critical determinant of success in the body shop business. Is you need to be close to where consumers are, and you want to be in areas where those consumers have the propensity to invest in their vehicles. The second piece is what we call GMaps for channel, right? And that's GMaps for our distributors, so the people selling our products on our behalf. And what we've really done here is change the conversation with that channel from, could you try to, please buy more from us than you did last year and sell more, to one of a question of how are you managing your market share, right? So by delivering some rich data, we now allow our field teams, the folks that we have with geographic responsibility, to manage their market share. They in turn can push that down, and now instead of having a conversation with a distributor about, hey, what are you going to buy next month, right? They can use that to help them assess, where do you have gaps in your market share? How are you performing, right? With peers that look like you. Where are there potential opportunities, right? Maybe competitive shops or areas that you could easily serve given your current footprint, right? And all that leads to some richer conversations than we were having in the past. So here's some examples of our customer-facing application, right? And if you put yourself, sort of in the position of a body shop owner, right? The first thing I want to be able to do is kind of understand my place in the market. So I can, drop a pin, I can view various drive times, and our application will spit out some reports, right? And it'll tell you what's going on within those drive times, whether it's dollars of collision potential, or it's the makeup, right, from tapestry segmentation, or even specific vehicles, right? And so that's really important and a big differentiator to our customers because not all vehicles are the same, right? And luxury vehicles have a propensity to drive more collision volume. You're probably seeing a lot, if you're paying attention, there's more and more aluminum coming on vehicles today, right? There's, currently Chevy and Ford are in a big debate on, do you want a truck with a steel frame or a truck with an aluminum frame? That's important to our customers because to work on aluminum vehicles, there's a significant tooling, training, cost burden to them. You don't just make that speculatively, right? We're helping them understand through the use of this data and the visualization of it, how many F-150s are in your trade area? Does it justify that investment, right? So the customer is going to use this to really sort of get a sense of where they are or a location that they might do. And then, a huge piece of this that the folks on my team have delivered, which is an absolute difference maker, is we then let the customer interact with it with their data, right? So they can take repair orders, and that's the bottom image, right? Somebody's uploaded, where are all my customers? And those are color-coded by insurance company, right? Because, probably most of us in the room at some point have been in an accident, and the first thing you do is call your insurance agent. And he says, oh, well, you're State Farm, I'm your local guy. Oh, you should take that to, Shop ABC or Shop XYZ, right? People that he's got a relationship with and that are on their programs. So by visualizing this data and visualizing it spatially, right, the shop can now say, wow, I've got a big problem with State Farm in the southern portion of my drive range. I wonder if there's a new agent there. I wonder if I need to reach out and do some marketing, create a relationship, make sure that person knows that I'm on their direct repair program, right? And it's been a real difference maker for our customers because, they're sort of trying to run their business every day. But this is a big piece strategically of how they grow, right? And we're delivering all that as part of a service package to existing customers. Right, this is an image of GMaps for our channel. And so as I said, right, along the bottom you'll see the different colors, right? Those denote different brands that Axalta sells. And the brands, have some differentiation, but they're largely, fairly similar. They do fairly similar things. We have some different price points, some different marketing that we do. But this is a tool that we use quickly, right, as our distributors change, as people are consolidated. We need to be able to dive into a market and say, okay, do we still have accurate and adequate product representation? Maybe a good customer of ours who has a relationship with a distributor enters a new market and says, hey, I need that guy to be able to supply me this. We use this with our channel management folks and with our field teams to quickly make sure that we're making the right decisions about authorizations, about where we may be oversaturated, about where we might have a risk of cannibalization. And it allows us to do that almost all in real time, right? So we have this directly tied into SAP, to our CRM system. So as these things are changing, right, we have we deliver this through the web, right? We have total customization for the decision makers to actually use data versus just anecdotal knowledge or what they're being told. And then this is a piece that we've developed really, right, that we use with our field force. So we have about 350 salespeople, market managers, region managers, zone managers that we're supporting from the standpoint of how are you doing, right? And so you can draw this up. You've got the ability to go down to kind of locate your portion of the world, right? Look at your opportunity, look at your market share, and then we push a scorecard, right? Are you growing at the rate that you should be? Are you going to deliver your budget? What are your big wins and losses, right? What's happening in your geography, and how does that roll back to the goals and the objectives we've set? So that now it's not just a conversation about, how are things going? It's based on real actionable data, right? And we can roll that up. We can, rank people. We can do a lot of stuff then with our own team to reward those that are performing, right? And coach those that aren't where we need them to be, based on the results. And so all of this, is delivered, using the ArcGIS server that we have, using Business Analyst. We do some, kind of customization. I'm fortunate to have two folks on my team who are just aces and are really the brains behind this. I'm just lucky enough to get to talk about it. But it's something that Axalta, I had to laugh at your example. So we know in about 8 minutes if we've had an issue, right? One of the things in the separation from DuPont, we had a certificate expire, and so that all the web access fell down. I mean, if we got 100 phone calls in about 4.5 minutes, because the field goes to work, right? They're trying to turn this on. So it's widely used, and it's a key part of our business. And all that's great, right? But I think the punchline, for me at least, as we look at, the investments that we make and where our focus is what are the results? So, a little bit about the application for shops. We use this program, right, in the work that we do with ArcGIS to sit with the third largest automotive dealer group in North America. and help them basically build their site selection and sort of capital planning process for new automotive dealerships with collision centers. Right, we were able to wrap that in, package it up as a service for them, and secure a 3-year contract renewal, which is worth about $9 million a year to us in paint sales. Right, probably equally as important are the next two, where we looked at the work we were doing and we tied it into sales presentations. And we approached large customers that we were trying to grow with and to penetrate and showed them what this application could do, right, and tied it into the offering with what they were going to get when they come to Axalta for their paint. The middle one, we pitched this to a customer when they had 70 locations. They brought it on. They're a power user. They have a branded platform that they sort of directly interact with it, and we assist them in their strategic planning. They've grown to over 300 collision centers. It's a $25 million a year account for us, and they're in this every day, right? And they talk about the importance of it, and I think for us that continues to drive home how critical it is to bring this, to your customers, to your salespeople, make it a part of your story. Similarly, the last one, we used this in a development, project we worked on with a very large franchisor, right? And we were able to then secure a hunting license, which we now develop our own reports, using business analysts to instruct our team, right? Here's where their most lucrative shops are, and we're out today pursuing that business and bringing them on board. Right, the same thing with our channel. So, right, it's consolidating and it's happening. As we're talking to our largest channel partners, right, we're pushing this tool out. We're trying to make sure that as they're buying, right, they're buying the right people, they're making strong acquisition decisions, and that we're seeing the fruits of that, on our performance with them. And so our largest uses this as part of their M&A tool. We, deployed a platform for them about a year ago. They've just completed their 5th strategic acquisition. It's allowed them to grow their purchases from us by about 23% this year, right? So, big changes in results. And I think the second piece, we have a fairly large one that isn't really looking to acquire and do a lot of M&A, but they're very focused on their market share. And so we expose them to what the collision potential is, right? We use some proprietary formulas to equate that to paint sales. And they've built that into their management culture and used it to drive a 13% same-store sales growth, right? And Axalta wins from all of that. So, we almost made it with no technical issues, but I'll just explain them. So somebody said yesterday, and I think we would agree with it, right? The information is power, but I'll equate it to sort of the way we get electricity, right? Information's like a generator. It can create a lot of power, but you need to deliver it some way. So, right, ESRI, ArcGIS, for us, those are the power lines, right? Getting it to our field, to our customers, to our channel partners. Just having all of it, great. We had a lot of this information before we did all of this stuff, but the platforms that we've built have really brought it to life. I think another thing for us is we've worked really hard to make sure that the development work we do and where our focus from a BI standpoint is directly linked to our strategy. And everybody says, yeah, that's kind of obvious, but I think it's a critical step that gets missed from time to time is, the stuff that we're churning out directly relates to helping us achieve our business results. The third one, what that says is build flexible solutions, right? And I think when we started, it can do all these amazing things. There's a little bit of a propensity to be like, wow, look at the reports and this and that. Our plan now is to kind of show people the road and have the flexibility to then customize by audience, right? So what the executives of Axalta see is very different than what somebody, work in a market or a region sees. Much more summary information, whereas somebody, downline wants to be able to get in and interact. They want to say, okay, I have low market share. Where are the competitive shops? And, how do I put somebody on them? And I need to go call on this guy and try to make a difference. And so we've tried to weave that into our design methodology. The other piece, and I talked about this, the breakthrough with our customers, everybody thinks the drive times and the collision potential is great, but when a customer puts their own repair order data into the system and sees that they have a huge hole in their existing trade area, and that they don't need to build 3 more stores, and they need to pick up the phone and start working on a little bit of sales and marketing, and they can impact their business, this goes from a nice to have to a can't live without. And that's been our experience, right, as we've exposed customers' data through the platform back to them. You know, the other big piece, as I said, I don't know that we'd be where we are if we hadn't really pushed this, you know, from a back office analysis tool into the hands of our sales team, right? And to my point, if it goes down, they're all screaming about it, and we know that's one of the ways we sort of keep it front and center. And we really, right, the last one, I mean, to some degree, everybody says reports and dashboards, and that's all nice. But for us, it was about packaging those into a more cohesive customer offering, right? Something that we could go out and sell and actually make a difference, you know, for Axalta's results. And, you know, I think as you saw, we've been able to do that, do it successfully, and it's been a huge difference maker. So with that, yeah, thank you for your time. And again, just really happy to be here.
Thank you. So one of the aspects that fascinated me when we were preparing for this was this notion of letting the customers use their own data. You know, these are people that are painting vehicles. You know, many of them have got their own businesses. They invest in you with the quality of your product. How do you deal with the fear that many of them will have that, you know, this industry is massively consolidating, that, you know, the companies, the insurance companies are getting involved and people are buying competitors? How do you deal with that?
You know, it's not easy. Your talk would probably send a ton of them running, you know, into the ocean, because we're not looking forward to vehicles that drive until we, you know, unless we can program them to get in more fender benders. But, you know, I think a lot of it is helping them by showing them the path of you're going to struggle to maintain relevance based on what the market is doing, right? So you can be a part of the story or you can be a victim. Yeah. And the key to moving, you know, into part of it and relevance, irregardless of if you've got, you know, 1 or 100 body shops, is that first realization of, you know, how am I doing in my own geography, right? People that race and say, oh, well, I just need to get bigger, so I'll buy more stores. I mean, that, if you have the money and the propensity, that may be a good strategy. But you should do that with a reason. And you'll probably be more successful if you do that, if you understand who your insurance partners are and where you're doing that. So it's a part of the pitch and a part of the conversation we try to help the customer have. You know, for those that are dealing with us, it's based on a sort of a trust and a relationship that we've built, you know, over a lot of years in business. For those that aren't, right, it's a story. It's a sales pitch we're trying to take them down, which is, you know, at the end of the day, us, our competitors, we can all paint a car black, but you know, this is one of the reasons you pick Axalta.
Yeah, and it's about the human aspect of the relationship and their involvement.
Absolutely.
So, all right, thank you again.